The arrow's pointing up a little bit for the Patriots, and I don't know what that means. You still have the under on 4.5 wins, Keefe. I've had the over all along. I don't know where the wins are going to come, but I didn't have them beating the Bears. I didn't have them beating the Jets a couple of weeks ago. I mean, none of us had them beating the Bengals in week 1. Mm-hmm. So it's a long way of saying I don't think we've been real good at predicting where the wins are going to come from.
No, that is true.
But it does feel like they've figured things out a little bit. The last 3 weeks have been 2 wins, an overtime loss mixed in there, and the overtime loss was bad. Bad coaching, bad decision-making, bad turnovers by Drake Maye, a lot of bad in that game. But it does feel like they're figuring things out a bit. I'm not saying they're a playoff team. I'm not saying they're going to have a winning record. But I do think they're going to be a little tougher to play against down the stretch, or at least that's the hope. And maybe, just maybe, again, they've already bottomed out, and they're starting to come back up a little bit where they're not truly the worst of the worst, drafting in the top 5 of the NFL. And maybe some fans out there don't like that. But I think that's now the takeaway from the last few weeks. It seems like they're starting to minimally figure out a few things.
Yeah, they are. And I think also when you see it up against a team that is quitting on their coach, don't get along with each other, like don't play for each other, like that team is falling apart. And it's still like just past the midway point of the season, so there's a lot of games left. The Bears came in with even more twice as many wins as the Patriots, but they don't look like they're a group going in the same direction, or actually, I guess it is. They're all going in the crapper,
the wrong direction.
Yeah, they're a mess. Where Patriots are like, all right, there were some games where it could really kind of teeter. Like there was, I mean, their own team reporter was saying that it was like a mutiny, right? Teetering on a mutiny.
Yeah, teetering on a mutiny. What week was that? But yes,
that
was
after the Jaguars game.
Yeah,
right. So things have turned around, and Drake Maye is a part of that turnaround for sure. But like capitalizing on these bad opponents and getting wins is pretty like almost necessary for them to like get something the rest of the way, build some positive momentum. But yeah, like on the one hand, they're not lighting up the scoreboard, right? They scored 1 touchdown as a team, and yet still there seems to be like a ton of positivity coming out of this. You had an offensive line start the game, play the entire game, and finish the game. Like that right there has not happened very often this year, and it seems like the times that it has, usually a decent game for the team.
Yeah.
1 turnover for Drake Maye, which you almost give him 1. He's a rookie quarterback, like he's gonna have 1. But they ran the ball as effectively this week as they have. I mean, going back to the beginning of the year, they've like went away between play calling and the line, maybe the running backs themselves, whatever. It like disappeared. That came back, and then obviously they just took advantage of a really bad offense and a really bad offensive line, but they just didn't let the Bears off the hook at all. I mean, they were on Caleb Williams all game long.
One update to the Bears, and you're right, that looks like a checked out team.
Oh yeah,
and the Patriots and Gerard Mayo, to his credit, the players have not checked out yet. We said it in the Jets game a few weeks ago. If they wanted to check out and quit, that was a game to do it. They didn't. I don't know that they're fully in Gerard Mayo's corner. They're playing for their coach. I wouldn't say it that way, but they're not totally checked out. The Bears are a checked-out team. Did you see what Eberflus said on the radio today in Chicago? I'm just catching up on this.
No, I can only imagine how good it was.
On ESPN 1000, Bears head coach Matt Eberflus said the team was, quote-unquote, in the middle of the process of that evaluation when asked about a possible change at offensive coordinator. So he's like,
oh my God.
He's throwing people under the bus left and right out of self-preservation to save his job.
Shane Waldron's been there for 9 games?
Yeah, half a year. And somebody's about to get fired in Chicago. They should, based on how things are going. They've lost 3 in a row. It started with that Hail Mary game against Jaden Daniels.
With Waldron and Williams sitting on the bench, and like Williams just like shaking his head, and like Waldron like trying to get something out of him. Like, it's a mess.
So you bring up.
I guess he got fired last week. Now Waldron's going to get it this week.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that's 100% true.
Yeah.
Getsy was their OC the last few years, right? He got fired in Vegas. And now I imagine, it seems, the writing's on the wall there for Shane Waldron being out. So you got a coach fired by beating them. That's how embarrassed they are. And I'm surprised Eberflus won't lose his job. Caleb Williams, I think yesterday was apparent in a couple of different ways that if you were going to redraft, I think Drake Maye is going before Caleb Williams. I think a lot of people in New England felt that way last week, but that's us here in New England. I don't know how you can't look at yesterday and say Caleb Williams has more around him. He's in a better situation, even if the gap isn't as big as we thought.
Yeah. It's not great.
He's in a better situation. Drake Maye outplayed him head-to-head yesterday.
Not even close.
And you have Caleb Williams' team unraveling around him.
Yeah.
Where they've quit, they've checked out, they're not behind their head coach. He's probably leading that charge, and this was what scared me about Caleb Williams as a prospect, not the talent, that sort of stuff, the intangible stuff. And you have Drake Maye. It was reported during the broadcast that he wanted to meet with the offense last week, call them out for practicing poorly. You have him clapping up the team after the game. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But just that juxtaposition between the two, it was a big, resounding win yesterday for Drake Maye, not just on the field, but everything else that comes along with it.
Oh, it's insane. And Matt and Lulenberg on the Twitch chat pointing out, my wife might be right. We watched 5 minutes of Hard Knocks, and she's like, this Caleb Williams guy
All she needed to do was watch 5 minutes of Caleb Williams on Hard Knocks.
She didn't know who he was. She doesn't know who he won the Heisman. She doesn't know anything about college. She just watched him on Hard Knocks.
Not the guy.
He's like, she goes, is he supposed to be good? I'm like, he's supposed to be good. She's like, he won't be. And then she gets up and walks away. I was like, okay.
Nailed it.
So I guess no on Caleb Williams. No, I thought Caleb Williams during the whole draft process and even last week, I'm like, that's the best quarterback in the draft. Like, he should have gone number one. But I don't know how you watched yesterday and if you felt the way I did, not be shooketh by what has taken place. And it's everything. It's taking 9 sacks. It's like the body language on the sideline. It's the team just all bailing on him. Now, he wouldn't be the first quarterback in NFL history to have a bad rookie year with a lot of losses and then turn around and be like an MVP Hall of Famer. But if you're just comparing him to Drake Maye was literally given nothing. And you saw what the team looked like without him for the first 5 weeks of the season. You throw him in there, and now all of a sudden it seems like they have a pulse, and everybody's kind of on the same page. Now they don't have, like, all of a sudden they don't have like a ton of talent on the roster, right? But they at least are playing together, and they're better going into week 11 than they were going into week 4 or going into week 5.
Yeah.
Whereas the Bears are the opposite. The Bears peaked probably week 4.
No, Drake Maye is elevating what's around him.
Yeah.
We might have been too high on what was around Caleb Williams, but he is not elevating it.
No,
if anything, it's looking worse than we expected it to. And so, to me, that looks good for Drake Maye.
You know what I overlooked,
What's that?
and I knew this information, and I was like, I tried to talk around it. When Caleb Williams didn't play in the bowl game last year, and was it Miller Moss was the kid? What was the kid's name?
Yeah, is that it? It's
Miller Moss,
something like that, yeah.
So he took over, and apparently the team was like thrilled that it was this guy. I was like, oh my god.
Since then, been benched.
Yeah, no, he got benched. He didn't play this last week, but still, at that point, the whole team like loved the backup and were celebrating when Williams left. And I was like, well, I don't know, maybe they just like that guy. And like, no, I don't think they liked Caleb Williams.
This is why quarterback is a different position. You're right, Keith. We can't slam the door closed on this debate.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if the NFL had another draft right now, I think Maye's going ahead. I think it goes Daniels, Maye, Williams. I'm not saying that's the order I'd take them in.
Do you believe yet? Bo Nix is out dueling Patrick Mahomes.
Bo Nix was taken after Michael Penix. I think he would go 4th.
And McCarthy, right? Or no. Yeah.
Yeah, actually.
Where'd McCarthy go?
No. I think he was taken. I don't remember the order anymore. Was he 5 or 6?
McCarthy 11 to the Vikings?
Yeah, whatever. Oh, yeah. No, you're right. Nix was 12th. You're right. So he was the 6th quarterback taken, Bo Nix.
Yeah. He's
leapfrogged a couple of guys, but he still wouldn't be in that top 3 for me.
Okay.
Maybe he would be for you. So there's a few things working in Drake Maye's favor yesterday. Number one, he doesn't take sacks like Caleb Williams takes sacks because he keeps his eyes up.
He got sacked once.
Caleb Williams drops his eyes. You could see this yesterday. He got sacked 9 times. How many were on Williams? I'm going to say 5 or 6 of those were on Williams. He's running around.
Oh, for sure.
He's panicking. Drake Maye's much more relaxed and calm in the pocket. Like, obviously,
Maye's also more elusive.
9 times.
He is.
Williams is
9 times.
Williams is like running around trying to make a big play, but he's also panicked. He's panicked, and Drake Maye doesn't panic in the pocket.
But anytime yesterday you would see sort of like 2 defenders kind of pushing the offensive line back, and like all of a sudden the pocket kind of closed in on Drake Maye, he eluded it.
Yep.
Now he either threw it left-handed, and like, incomplete pass, which is cool, or would like run for a little bit. Caleb Williams, like anytime that happened, go down. Like anytime he would just like go down, like he couldn't really elude anybody.
Or when he tried to, flush out of the pocket, he'd run right into a sack.
No.
And so I think it's as simple as Drake Maye keeps his eyes up, looking to make a play. Caleb Williams drops his eyes. I think it's as simple as that.
Maye almost had the play of the weekend. If KJ Osborne understood the rules of the game,
phenomenal,
and didn't run out of bounds, he kept that a play alive so long. And you're just wondering, what is he going to do on this play? Is he going to take a sack? Is he going to try to run for it? Is he going to throw it away? Is he going to run out of bounds? Like, no, he's actually going to throw a dart into the end zone. And if Osborne just keeps his feet in bounds, it's 6 points.
Caleb Williams twice in 3 weeks, and you're right. That would have been an incredible play. It was an incredible play by Maye. It would have been an incredible highlight if KJ Osborne knew how to stay in bounds. But 2 times in 3 weeks, Caleb Williams has lost to Jaden Daniels and Drake Maye. The guy's taken immediately behind him. The other piece to it, I love Drake Maye. We were going to talk about this before we were rudely interrupted by Christian Gonzalez earlier today. We had this on the schedule to talk about. The Kayshon Boutte play right before halftime, like just the command that he has. Get up there, spike it calmly, get your reset,
that
kick the
was
field goal right
super
before
close.
half. That was super close.
Yeah.
But that's a rookie who has not been playing since week 1.
Great play.
He's been playing now for 4 or 5 weeks. That shows a command and a leadership that Drake Maye has. That was a very self-aware.
That was awesome.
Offense all on the same page. That was a great play.
And normally before halves,
and that got you 3 points. No, they've been
they just
miserable
kind of
before
fart
halves.
on the football and don't know what to do. They don't know which ends up.
The 2 times they've been good this year, though, Drake Maye was out there for both. It was the bomb touchdown to
Booty.
Thank you, Keyshawn Booty against Houston,
or Boutte if you listen to the broadcast.
And then it was the Booty play yesterday to get them a field goal. So the 2 times it's worked, Drake Maye has been out there both times, which I don't think is a coincidence.
No.
Then you have his leadership, Keefe. I know you didn't love this moment, but I still like where Drake Maye's heart was at on this. It was dorky, and it was uncomfortable. I still think his heart's in the right place. This is Drake Maye hitting the post. He's just listened to Christian Gonzalez. I guess in the middle of Gonzalez talking yesterday after the game, Drake Maye even shouted out at one point when Gonzo was asked about Drake Maye, hey, that's about the defense. It's not about me. He's sitting there with the 6 reporters, and he shouts that out. Then he hits the podium. Here's what he does.
No, phones down, notepads down real quick. Clap it up for the defense, man. Clap it up. Somebody else clap up. There we go. Appreciate you. There we go.
Please.
So I don't like that at all. And I don't want to be, I sound like old man reporter guy. And, the Scoops game, we got to protect ourselves.
Yeah, it's true.
But, they're not fans. You know what I mean? They're not fans. They're supposed to be the conduit, maybe, between the fans and the players. They're there to, sort of ask questions and report on the team and, the goings on. Mm-hmm. They're not cheering. And I just find it weird. Put your phones down, It's like, what?
It was.
Who are you?
It was a bit cringy.
Very cringy.
It was a team broadcaster clapping along there as it went. So there was one fan in the room and then some media members. And so on top of that, it is a little reminiscent of Let's Go Red Sox.
It's weird. You can't starting a chant, or even DeMarcus Covington be like, "What do I say?"
Yeah. It was like that. So he's
call and response.
He's 22. Tom Warner's
start a cheer. Let's go Red Sox. Let's go Red Sox. Let's go.
No, this is my hope.
Okay, I will say this. It was cringy. It's not the right crowd. It's the media. It's not like fans or boosters. Someone was suggesting earlier when he did press conferences at UNC, maybe there were boosters in the room,
or for
family in the room.
If he goes on with Hart and Arcan today, if they were doing the show at a remote and they were at a bar or something,
and he got the crowd to chant along.
Hell yeah,
right venue,
great,
fine. So it wasn't.
I just found it odd. No, the message is great.
It wasn't the right venue. It was a little bit.
It was strange.
It was a lot of bit cringy. It was strange, but I do think there's a genuineness, and I think his heart's in the right place. And I don't think Mac would have done that. I don't think Caleb Williams would do that.
No.
And you talk about him addressing the team during the week, too. That came out on the broadcast. And I feel much more strongly about that than this. But it's just a little insight into him not trying to make it about himself. Did he go too far there? Probably. Was it cringy? Definitely. But he's going out of his way to not make it about himself, because 90% of what we talk about with the Patriots is him. And he had an opportunity to give his teammates credit, and he did. I'll give him credit for that.
So my hope is, how on some of those talk shows, they'll show an actor, a commercial they were in, when they were 20 years younger.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my God, I sounded and looked like that. Mm-hmm. That's what I hope happens to Drake Maye. He has this unbelievable career. And then they look back and be like, you know how much energy you were bringing and some of the stuff you were doing. First of all, look how young you look, and then also this was you after your first road win, going in there and telling the reporters to put their phones down and clap for your defense.
It's like when they show Brady.
He's like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that.
It's like when they show Brady in 2001. He's like crazy high five and people falling down.
100%.
And it's like, oh man, I was a wild man.
That's what I hope it is.
I can't believe I'm the same guy. Yeah, that would be good.
Kind of oh, that's still in me, but I sort of matured, I guess, a little bit. That's what I hope ends up being. It's really not the end of the world. It just. I think if any other quarterback did that, we'd be making fun of him for it. So we just got to be consistent.
It's a good point. If any of the other quarterbacks around the league did that, would we mock them?
We'd be like, yes. Of course
probably, but he's our sweet baby boy.
Don't you talk about my Drake Maye.
Let's go to the phones. All your thoughts yesterday. Arrow pointing up for the Patriots, Drake Maye, and his performance. We'll get more into the leadership, because I think he clearly is a leader on this team. 617-779-7937. Sorja's in Mansfield. Go ahead, Sorja.
Jones and Keefe, how are you this afternoon?
Very good.
So you guys, of course, are 4 weeks ahead of everybody, like always. Do you guys remember having this exact conversation like a couple weeks ago, whether it's more important for the Patriots to win or to lose, right?
Yep, yeah.
Or
We've
be
had it all year.
competitive and lose, right?
Yeah.
So,
yes.
So this is the thing, right? I think we just run it up the scoreboard, hit the over, because Drake get more confidence, right? The only reason to tank would be to get a Shador. We don't need Shador. We got the best QB in the draft. And I just really quick here, guys, because I know I ramble. You guys hit it on the head.
We did.
These guys are not, giving up. You saw Debo Samuel yesterday shoving the long snapper. You saw Joe Mixon throwing his helmet or whatever on the sideline, which I had the lines plus 560. I don't know how we hit that.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
hey, you fellas have a great
All
rest
right,
of your
Sorja.
day, okay?
It was a
Thank
bit
you,
of a
Sorja.
tangent there at the end, but
Yeah,
I understand your point.
His
I
overall
missed,
point.
I missed Joe Mixon spiking his helmet.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
but-
no, me either. But so, yeah, there was more value in that win yesterday than tanking for a draft pick. I think if you watched it, you know that.
That's why I think the only reason we were torn about the Jets one was because Jacoby Brissett came in and got the win. You're
Right.
like, I need Drake Maye to be in close fourth quarters and seeing how he comes out on top there.
Right.
And so
Yeah,
I know this wasn't a close fourth quarter, but this was a wire-to-wire. Drake Maye started, finished the game, they got the win. So I do think that's valuable. Where Jones and I differ is I don't think like the overall win total really matters. Now you can't just lose out. Like we said that at the time too. You can't lose
Bingo.
out. There's got to be a couple of wins in there.
But you
things
want
that you can learn
you want
from.
some of this momentum. You want moments like that for
Yeah,
Drake
yeah,
Maye
yeah,
yesterday.
yeah.
And again, it wasn't a brilliant individual performance. His stats were pretty pedestrian.
No, they were.
But you want moments like that to build off of going into next year. And I do feel strongly about that. And I don't think we've heard as much from the tanking crowd, namely for what Sorja just said. If they didn't have the quarterback, I would get that a lot more. Now that you have the quarterback, I'm far less worried about that draft pick. They're going to be drafting in the top 10, I would imagine.
Yeah, I would think.
That's a
There's a lot of bad teams.
No,
We're sure
true.
what happens. Like everybody stinks.
Fine, top 15
Yeah.
picks.
Ugh.
You're going to be drafting highly, and you're going to have a chance to get an impact player, and I would rather get a couple of wins down the stretch. And I think most fans now feel that way, but perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps I'm wrong about that.
Yeah. And also, I think there's a big difference, too, of like losing a head-to-head matchup with Caleb Williams when he's playing as poorly as he is on the other side versus if you get into like a shootout with Josh Allen and you lose. I think you should be able to be like, oh, there was some good there.
That's true, too.
You know?
That's true, too. You don't need to.
Because your defense dominated, and if they somehow like fumbled this thing away, like, holy crap, like that looks bad.
You don't need to win to feel good about some of these losses. Josh Allen is a great example of that. And beating Caleb Williams head-to-head, that is a good
nice.
notch in his belt. It is.